Hi, I'm Bob One.
I'm Jerry of DEVO.
And I'm Mark of DEVO.
And we're here on Devolutionary Times, our new program on our YouTube channel, where we're kicking off films of the body of our work. This is episode 4, where we're going to talk about 3 music videos that we did for the Freedom of Choice album.
Listen up, Spuds. Welcome to Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times.
Devolution, self-execution, no solution. I'm a potato. I got eyes all around.
We need eyes all around as this world falls apart faster and faster. We have to see what's coming and going and what's sneaking up on us from behind. Devolutionary Times. It's not too late to whip it good.
I like to shoot 'em all.
The art band that we weren't sitting around trying to write hits. That was never a thing that we were able to do. All we could do is make songs that really excited us, and then anything we didn't like didn't get put on the record. The pressure from the record company at that point, which was quite intense because they had disliked the second record very much and said, okay, we know we have a 5-album deal with you, but this is it. If this third record doesn't hit, it's over. And that was the wrong thing to say to DEVO. We're like, okay, guys, we're going to do exactly what we've been talking about, right? It's like, right, that's what we're going to do. So let's start with Freedom of Choice. This is where we started totally embracing video as opposed to film. We were actually shooting in videotape, kind of enamored to the mobility of it, the cost savings of it, the immediacy of it, the kind of run and gun handheld effect. And our concept for Freedom of Choice lent itself well to videotape because we were featuring local skateboarders who were not yet world-renowned and multimillionaires. They were from an area of California near Santa Monica called Dogtown. These were the guys that became famous, like Tony Alva, and we wanted to feature them. So they were quite great to watch, and they were big fans of DEVO's music. They skateboarded to DEVO's music. They were using equipment from a company called Rector, and Rector, a complete set of elbow pads, knee pads, shirts, everything that we actually used for the album before Freedom of Choice. So we were shooting locally at Skateboard Park in Marina del Rey, California, and really loved the results we were getting with videotape. Of course, the idea with Freedom of Choice was that, as we say in the lyrics, freedom of choice is what you've got, but freedom from choice is what you want. We were warning people about their propensity to give in to authoritarian rule, to quit thinking for themselves, to have others tell them what to do, and to quit trying to analyze information, logically, critically. So the choices that they were making become meaningless, like the difference between Pepsi and Coke. And we're amplifying this in the video. It's humorous, it's satirical, and I think I could say that a lot of it came from the fact that this was the run-up to the 1980 election, where Ronald Reagan was using basically a campaign that is mirrored today in Make America Great Again. He was presenting this myth of America's past being pristine and wonderful, and that we'd lost it, and he was going to restore this kind of, mythical America to everybody. And we knew this was, delusional.
She sings on somewhere you can't see. She sits in the top of the greenest tree. She sends out an aroma of undefined love. It drips on down in a mist from above. She's just a girl. She's just a girl. The girl you want.
We definitely wanted to shoot Girl You Want. In our minds, what we were doing was kind of a parody of American Bandstand, or the kind of TV performance shows of rock and roll from the early 60s. We reached out to our friends and associates and populated the audience in the studio we rented, in the bleachers we rented with our friends, to act in unison as if they were watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. We interject a lot of satire in here. There's a boy in drag. There's There's girls holding up signs with international symbols on them. And I think the part we all like the most is that the video editor, because this was a new technology and we weren't using our people anymore, he hit a switch and he threw the video out of phase. And it just looked completely horrendous with all these out of phase colors, purple, things that were red turned black.
Right, look at the hats.
And when you see the video, we made him leave it out of phase and we finished it online out of phase because we thought it added 1 degree of abstraction and it made everything uglier, like uglier in a good way. Because obviously there are dancers on stage that are being controlled by General Boy. They're wearing caps with electrodes on them and he's making them do what they do. So it helped remove it 1 more degree from reality.
I'm thinking maybe for the 100th anniversary of this video, we'll go back and switch it back to phase so that it looks like it was filmed and the way it was edited.
Well, should we move on to the creme de la creme, the Whippet video? The much talked about and much vaunted, honored Whippet video, where it's not a video. We went back to shoot 16mm film. This came after the fact because Warner's had given up on DEVO, but Cal Rudman performed a triage save, and now Whippet was becoming a hit really fast. We actually had to stop our tour and recalibrate because the venues had to change from 400 and 500 seat venues to like 3,000, 5,000 seat venues. And we had time to come back to LA and shoot the video before going back out. This was a no-brainer.
It's not too late to whip it.
Every DJ, rock music press, they all assumed it was about either masturbation or S&M sex. And when we would try to explain, no, it's about, facing a challenge to an insurmountable problem, and, it was a kind of a parody of Horatio Alger, like you're number one, there's nobody like you can do it. Their faces would just turn like down. It disappointed and bummed them out. So we thought, okay, let's shut up and do exactly what they think it's about.
Somewhat close to what they think it's about.
Well,
my favorite part, I gotta say, it's gotta be the sagging backdrop sky where you see there's a sag and the wrinkle in the clouds and a couple of the shots. I love that.
we shot this in one 16-hour day in our rehearsal studio in the industrial part of Beverly Hills. Believe it or not, there was that then. And this was in a pretty decrepit building. And that backdrop came from Western Costume that had a whole backdrop department that dated back to the 30s. And this was a big west sky backdrop. Our idea, of course, was put cowboys in the corral with DEVO and put a woman whipping cream in the log cabin, and her friend comes out and Mark whips her friend's clothes off. And this idea came from a magazine, I think it was Dude or another magazine, like one of these B and C level men's magazines from the early 60s. I was with John Zabrucki, and it was in a secondhand bookstore on Main Street in Santa Monica that we would go to every couple weeks to see what they had. And this showed a man who had been a stuntman in Hollywood, who went with his stripper wife out of LA and moved to a dude ranch in Arizona. People there were treated every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon in the corral to him whipping his wife's clothes off, down to a bikini.
It was entertainment.
It was the ridiculousness of it and the wrongness of it, the naughtiness of it. And we thought, okay, we're gonna skew that. We're gonna skewer that. We're gonna do that as the basis. So it's one set, one location, and guess what? Mark comes out, we play the song, he whips her clothes off, and the lady finishes whipping the whole bowl of whipped cream and says, "Oh, that Alan."
I still have an 8-foot tall, 2-foot wide section of that log cabin back there. I found it in my garage when
He
I
goes
was moving,
camping
so now it's
every
in the
couple of
warehouse.
years.
Yeah,
It's worth a lot of money.
well, no, memories. It's worth a lot of memories.
Freedom from choice. What you want.
So I think it's time to answer some questions about the first of our 3 videos. In freedom of choice, what is the significance of the alien costumes? Well, I think it's something we mentioned before. We always felt like aliens, not so much alienated, but aliens.
Observers.
Yeah, we were so traumatized by horror, what we would see in the way we grew up and when we grew up. I mean, Ohio, just a oppressive, anti-intellectual, right-wing prevailing culture. The fact that at Kent State, the National Guard had killed 4 students on May 4th, 1970, wounded 9 others, and gotten away with it simply because we were there protesting the expansion of the Vietnam War into Cambodia without an act of Congress. And Nixon, he's kind of a precursor of a Trumpian kind of guy, and it was very, very depressing. And we rather than just get angry, we withdrew and got creative.
Brianna Miranda asks, how long did it take to put on? It took a while
Yeah.
because first you had to get your face, molded, and then he built the masks over it. It was a famous guy,
Rick Baker.
Rick Baker. Yeah, very famous.
And it's another Devo undercapitalized story. Latex heads was quite invasive. I mean, you're underneath this thing cut off from the outside world like some kind of, BDSM trip with a straw in each nostril sticking through the plaster. That's your contact with the outside world. And you're feeling the heat and you're feeling it tighten around your face and you can only breathe through the straws. And this goes on for like 45 minutes, not like the modern stuff. And then they pull it off and then they go cast that. So each of us had this done to us, but we couldn't afford to have Rick Baker show up on set to do maintenance on the heads shot to shot, hour to hour, because the glue that you put on your face to stick this alien head on to match to your lips and nose inevitably under film light starts to melt. And that was well known to everybody in film business, but
Except for us.
except there was nobody there to take care of it. So that's why when you watch the video and they do the tight shots, it's kind of humorously pathetic that these masks are separating from our lips and eyes. It almost adds to the Little Rascals Devo aesthetic.
It's kind of funny. We were both horrified and loved it. So
Freedom of choice.
Carl Race asked, whose idea was it to use little chocolate donuts in the Freedom of Choice video? I've been wondering that too.
I guess I had a thing for chocolate donuts, just the look of them, because you always see chocolate donuts. And I think, was it Wayne Thiebaud, the artist? He painted a lot of chocolate donuts. Like in the neo-pop movement, you would see donuts, and he painted chocolate donuts. And then it kind of made us laugh. And the idea was to have this, bowling pin arrangement where the aliens come up through the chocolate donuts. And that was stop action stuff where we shot chocolate donuts on a tabletop setup with a green screen, actually at our manager's office in Hollywood, a frame at a time, with Chuck Statler using his camera to do that. And then it gets animated. And I think what happened was there's a smudge of,
yeah, that's my favorite part. The very last donut to show up does a skid mark on the and at that point, because we only shot everything once, it's like, well, we had to live with the skid mark. And so it's pretty funny. If you watch the video, you'll see the last donut.
it's like a low budget accident that adds to the aesthetic.
Fresh off the press, Freddie B asked, it was awesome when one of my favorite bands was featured in one of my favorite films in 1995. Girl You Want and Tank Girl. Love to hear the backstory of that coming about. Well,
Yeah.
you loved Tank Girl. That's great.
I didn't like that film.
It was an odd film. It wasn't perfect. It had things about it that were interesting though, and I could see how somebody younger could say, "Yeah, this is great." I could see that. But Girl You Want, didn't we do remind me, did we do a slowdown version of it?
They specifically, the producers came and asked us if we could do a new version of Girl You Want for Tank Girl, and they wanted something. I'm not sure what they were after because it was pre-grunge, but what they were describing was kind of grungy. I think they just wanted something kind of more down and dirty, thrashy, and so we attempted it. We tried to do what they wanted to do. We were like, okay, if that's what you want, we love Girl You Want, so we were willing to mutate it again.
Oh, and the down just meant it lasted 10 seconds longer, so that we were good with that.
Evan Vest and Ness Majana. They ask, what was the casting process for the people in Whippet video? And how did you guys discover Shyla Spitz for the Whippet video? It's the girl who gets her clothes whipped off. Casting process was the same as always. You go out to friends and see who you can get that's non-union, non-professional talent. And in the case of the Cowboys, my good friend John Zabrucki, who art directed a lot of our videos and a lot of pieces of our videos, knew two waiters who were wannabe actors at a restaurant in Santa Monica that we used to frequent. And he said, would you guys be cowboys in a DEVO video? And they go, hell yeah. So we had the two cowboys. And then the two girls in the corral, one is my girlfriend, Luann, and one is John Zabrucki's girlfriend. And the other people came from what was called indoor-outdoor shopping mall where they had.
Oh, right. I know. What's the name of that? The 23rd Street
26th
Santa Monica Mall.
It's famous. There was a big coffee stand there. And so the woman who's whipping the whipped cream, her and her husband owned the coffee stand. They were immigrants. I can tell you, had 100% no understanding the whole time of what she was doing, which made it better. And then Shyla came from the Buttery on Main Street in Santa Monica, which was a place that made crepes. All day people were eating crepes and croissants. And we couldn't believe it. We'd go in there, and she was pretty majestic. She was very tall, and people were always comparing her to Grace Jones, and she was a wannabe actress. So, of course, it's like, do you want to be in a DEVO video? It's like, what do I do? It's like, well, your clothes are going to get whipped off of you. But not really. All the clothes were disassembled for her costume and put back together with Velcro. And then there was clear monofilament line on the end of Mark's whip that would be attached to each piece of clothing. So Mark was really going like this and taking a piece of clothing off, but we would reverse the film and then pull it back. So it looked like he whipped her and whipped the clothes off. So it was a practical film trick.
All right. Stephen Westlake asked, Whippet was obviously your guy's stab at mainstream. Not saying this in a bad way. Did you suspect it would become as huge as it did?
The answer is it was not a stab at mainstream. It was just one of the songs we liked that we wanted to put on the record. And none of us, the record company never mentioned it. It was all Cal Rudman's doing. And we were elated because we thought, well, any song that we put on our record deserves to be to garner radio play in our view. So yeah.
I mean, because we were kind of the Beatles of nerd potato rock. And if that was the world that we all lived in, we probably would have had a lot more hits.
Yeah, I would have thought like Uncontrollable Urge would have been a hit. I would have thought Freedom of Choice would have been a hit. I would have thought Gates of Steel would have been a hit. I would have thought Beautiful World had been a hit. And none of them were hits, and it was appalling to me. It was depressing,
I would have thought Space Junk would have been a hit.
Yeah, that's a sing-along.
Ray Jeffries asked, why is the video for Whippet still so damn good? Uh, just because it is.
Yeah, I mean, some things stand the test of time. And I think it was just such a simple, kind of almost dada, naughty idea, and it was well executed, and it's to a song that people like.
I think it's the fake log cabin. I think that's what people like about it.
And the fact that you can see raw masonite through the window.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a miscellaneous question from Paul Robinson and Greg Glenn. Where did you get the money or the resources for recording tapes or cameras or tape machines, and who made sure nothing got lost? Was there a DEVO archivist from the beginning?
Okay, well, let me tell you the sad truth about the tapes. Oftentimes the tapes, and if you look over our shoulder, you'll see there's a lot of them back here. There's a couple thousand DEVO tapes back there that we recorded through the decades. But oftentimes getting a recording tape to record a song meant I'd have to talk to my girlfriend and tell her this was a weekend we were going to have tea and soda crackers for every meal between Friday night and Monday morning, so that I'd have $7.87 to buy a Shamrock reel-to-reel 7-inch tape, and that's where we got the money. Ed Barger somehow had a reel-to-reel Sony half-inch video recorder, and by some miracle, he had it there for the very first couple DEVO shows ever, including the only live show filmed for sure with Jim Mothersbaugh. And I don't know, it's like that wasn't money.
It was also haphazard, not even on our part so much as just the chaos and the people we were involved with on any production and in the studio and at the label. For anything that got saved, the sad truth is something else got lost, at least 50-50. And in some cases, it was egregiously evil. In the case of Enigma Records, they threw out a whole set from a whole tour that included our treadmills that we used on the New Traditionalist tour that were famous. All gone. The Greek temple, all gone.
Most of the instruments I managed to keep a hold of, and electronic gear I kept a hold of. Tapes, audio tapes I kept a hold of. Jerry did a pretty good job of keeping all of the film and the video stuff. He has all that stuff pretty much. So between the two of us, we collected quite a bit. I collected a lot of all the press. I remember we'd be in Paris and we'd be walking with the guys in the band. We'd all be walking by a newsstand, and we'd look over, and there'd be 4 magazines with us on the cover. And the guys would look, and they'd all laugh and keep walking. And I'd run over there and try to figure out how much it cost, and then figure out what clothes I left behind, so I could bring back, magazines and newspapers from touring.
I collected tons of press too.
And Bob, what did you collect?
Trouble.
Well, I hope we've answered all your questions to your satisfaction. And we'll be soliciting questions for the next episodes in this episodic rollout of our video restorations. So stay tuned to DEVO's YouTube channel and Devolutionary Times for those questions and new information, and we'll see you again in the next episode.
Yeah, pretty much feel like you can ask us anything you want at this point.
Whippet good.